okay, because, no, I'm kidding. What's that?
I'm sorry I asked. I won't ask.
Something new. We're just going to
What does it
see
say?
if people will do it.
She does this stuff, and I'm not even aware that she does it. What does it say?
Think of the can challenge. Remember I started doing it and never gained momentum, so.
So you're going to talk about it, right? Because I have no idea.
No, not yet.
No, I mean...
No, I mean, I won't talk about it this time.
Okay.
We'll put it out next time. It's just there as a teaser. Yes, exactly. Are we ready? Are y'all ready?
I believe so.
Welcome to another edition of Think Out of the Can, where we take ordinary food and create
extraordinary food.
Ordinary to extraordinary. How do we do that?
Well, you came up with the ideas today, and we're taking food assistance food, canned food, non-perishable food, and Kim had a great idea. She said, you know, when you get a can of peaches or a can of pears or frozen peaches, whatever it is, I mean, everybody thinks about, you know, it's a dessert. And, you know, you can make cobbler with it or just put it in a bowl and eat it or what have you. She goes, how about making a class today on savory fruit? So I thought it was a great idea. Of course, she always puts me to the test because I don't have these recipes and I got to make them up and I have to actually like kind of taste them in my mind because I don't taste them until I've already made the recipe and then cook it before we come here on the camera.
So I have a little bit to tell the audience. Do you remember back when we had our cooking program called Dinner is Possible, where we were teaching middle school students about healthy cooking? And I posed the question, where does a peach come from?
And their answer was?
From a can.
It's not stupidity, and it's kind of ignorance, but ignorance doesn't mean dumb.
Well, it made us realize
yeah.
what we had to do to teach them. And part of what it was, yes, the ignorance came in from we need to educate them.
Ignorance means it's something that you don't know, not because you're not smart. And the fact is that, you know, they live, you know, some of these communities that are, you know, less fortunate, they call them food deserts. The closest grocery store you couldn't walk to. And so you go around the corner to these convenience stores. And so what do peaches come in?
They come in a can.
They come in a can.
But as we broke it down and we started talking about a peach, what does a peach have in the middle? It has a seed. Where does the seed come from? You plant it. How do you get it off the tree?
Well, you plant it and then it grows into a tree, and they grow hanging on a tree. And again, they hadn't been out in the country or anything like that. And then you said from the tree, somebody has to.
So I said, okay, now you've got this peach tree, and we're talking about jobs as well.
Yeah.
You know, what jobs you could do on each step of the way.
Well, let me jump in because, you know, there's a verse in the Bible, I think it's Corinthians, Paul says, some were meant to plant, some were meant to water, but God is the one who provides the fruit, if you will. And so in this case, it's a very biblical also.
Yes. So anyway, this is inspired by the students of Dinner is Possible. What a great life lesson it was for me and for us.
And let me say that we started in 2006 when they were their first year in middle school. They were 10 and 11 years old, and they are now 28, 29, 30.
With their own children.
With their own children.
Knowing where peaches come from.
Yeah, right, they do. Anyway, so the first one I'm going to do, you know, Kim actually started doing this because she, you know, we try to eat healthy. I know I don't actually look like that, but she does. But she was putting Cajun seasoning on pineapple rings. And one of the things that the First Baptist Church Elkhart does when they hand out the food assistance boxes, almost every single month there's fruit. Maybe one fruit, maybe two fruits. Sometimes it's canned, sometimes it's frozen. So that's why we thought, let's do savory fruit. Or Kim actually did. So the first thing I'm going to do is one of Kim's favorites, and it is Cajun pineapple. So I put a little bit of oil in the pan. The flavor in cooking it is going to come from butter.
And remember, you don't have to always open the can and dump the fruit out. You can drain that liquid off, and you can, I like doing different techniques. So this is based on, I wanted to try a different techniques instead of just opening a can of pineapple Because I thought about, grilled pineapple, and I thought, could we do something like...
And guess what? This happens sometimes. We might have to start over. We have to start over. I don't know what happened.
Goodness gracious. You did a whole good thing.
Well, we're going to have to do... last time I checked, movies aren't first take only. I don't know what happened to this. I thought that I ran out of... That's weird. I didn't run out of gas. No, somehow it just stopped.
Actually, we can just cut it.
Oh, okay.
Start from there.
That's why you do what you do and I do what I do.
Good chance to explain. We made a group chat, so we're just texting through that to each other.
And actually, that's really a good thing because it happens.
Yeah.
I'm gonna... I'll tell you when I'm ready to film again, okay?
We can add this for bloopers.
What's that?
For bloopers at some point.
Chef Tim's bloopers. I love it. So you got to where I put the oil and the butter in the pan.
Right.
Okay. So ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got the oil and the butter in the pan. And a substitution for oil, you can do just plain butter. Or if you don't have butter or margarine or something like that, then you can use just the plain oil.
So would you use olive oil on this?
Yeah, you could use olive oil on this one. Sometimes you can use olive oil when you don't worry about the fact that it's going to give an additional flavor to what you're cooking. There's times when you don't want that flavor. You want kind of a flavorless vegetable oil, canola oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, something like that. The reason I use oil and butter is because the oil makes it so the butter's not going to burn, because I'm sure that anybody who cooks out there knows if you let that pan get away just a little bit, the butter burns. So I make sure that I have it heated until the butter starts to bubble, and you can see the oil is starting to ripple.
This is really good, y'all. Try it.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to season the pineapple ring. You see the pineapple ring right there. Came right out of the can. Again, if pineapple's in season and it's not too expensive.
And you drained it and you dried it.
Yes, I drained it.
We have a little
Thank
bit
you.
of residue, but
She's the best sous chef in the world. Gordon Ramsay and Bobby Flay and all those guys, they have no idea what a great sous chef is, I promise you. So I seasoned the one side. I'm going to cook it on that side. You can tell it is ready to rock and roll. And now I will season the other side. I'm going to turn it down a bit. Now, Cajun means that it's a little bit spicy and a little bit, it's not charred, it's caramelized. So I'm going to do the second side. Let that cook for a bit. I'll shake the pan a little bit so it doesn't stick.
and we're gonna try to make this real fancy and exciting because that's it, y'all. It's very simple. Like open a can, put your butter and your oil in, open your can, drain it, put your seasoning on there and cook it, and there you go.
You got to cut again. I don't know what's going on.
Well, they don't have to cut, they can.
It's so weird. I'm either going to have a talk with my burner or find out what's wrong because it lights.
Can you talking to the burner in the bloopers? Keep it real. Like
Yeah.
Well,
You tell me
Jason's
when you
back
want to
there
do
with
it.
his Facebook.
We're gonna keep it rolling throughout this in case, because we're not gonna put this in the video.
Oh,
but, we
okay.
can cut it.
Okay.
At some point, bloopers, though.
Okay.
Because it's just a lot easier.
So, what's wrong with you? You light, you flame, and then you just go out. It's like you're on like lunch break or something. Anyway, so I think this is probably nicely coated. Oh yeah. So
We
you
have
see.
somebody asked me about the recipe, so I'm looking at her. Yes, they're out there at the table.
So you see that it's really nicely caramelized, and that Cajun seasoning is really, really cooked into that one side. So I'm going to, again, cook it on the other side. I got a pretty high flame also. I want it to kind of cook quickly because you don't have to cook the pineapple ring. It's, all I want to do is flavor it and make sure that flavor is totally through the pineapple. And I can tell you that
So I think you
It's-
get
it's-
probably 14 slices in a can.
Something like that. Yeah.
So, I mean,
You know, it's an inexpensive way to have something that's flavorful, and you know, nowadays everything is sweet and salty. You know, salted caramel, you know, bacon in your what do you call it, milkshake. I mean, it's really interesting. So
I was thinking
anyway,
about tahine. Everybody's into that tahine.
yeah, I told one of the volunteers out there, you know, it's just like tahine.
Yeah.
So here it is. That's the pineapple slice, and I'll tell you what, it smells great, and I haven't had breakfast. And the final product is right here. So that is Cajun pineapple rings. Very simple, you know, just a few ingredients, and easy to do in a can, whether it's a can or whether it's a pineapple, you get a lot of rings. Now, if you can't quite get the rings because you can't get the core out completely, then chunk it up. It doesn't matter. I just figured I would do pineapple rings.
And now we're on to our life point. Our life point number 1. And life point number 1 is the greatest commandment. What is the greatest commandment?
To love God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself.
That's the commandment number 2. That's our life point number 2.
Okay.
But look at you. He's an overachiever. So it's Mark 12:30. So if you were to talk about the greatest commandment, loving the Lord God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. And I put strength as spirit because it's like we go through life and it's your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit. So I put the strength as your spirit. What would you say? How do you love the Lord with all your heart, all your soul?
Well, I'm not batting 1,000 in this area, but one of the things is that, you know, you and I have coffee, tea, and devotional every morning. Now,
That's what I
like
was
today,
thinking.
we even, you know, got up extra early today before we did this class.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things, get into the Word. Get into the Word, and when you have a partner to do it with, whether it's your friend, and you don't have to do it face to face, you could do it over the phone. I mean, it's an amazing thing, but get in the Word. That's what I say reminds me that, you know, God loves me, and sometimes you say, why is that? And so why can't we, you know, love God with all our heart, strength, and soul?
And I think giving to people is another way of showing you're loving God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. So that goes with your life point number 2. So you were already ahead of the game. But really, I feel like that is what we do is we our Bible study in the mornings or devotional time. And then also all the time that you go and you give to other people and the community and the Bible studies that I go to. And
well, and I go to Vida Nueva. You know, I serve at Vida Nueva. I serve at Tres Dias. They're Christian organizations for young men and young women, and the adult men and women. And you know, to give. I mean, God is such a giving and loving God that that's a big way I can.
that sounds amazing. And now we're on to recipe number 2. And
Okay.
in your pan.
Now, we got to talk.
It went off again?
No, I turned it off. I'm just saying beforehand, we got to talk.
All right.
Okay.
We got a flame, y'all.
Okay, so the second one, this is really not uncommon. A lot of people, it's not my favorite, although when I did this recipe, I was like, man, I might even be a believer. A lot of people like Hawaiian pizza, which is ham and pineapple. Now, to me, it was never my fave. To me, you know, savory pizza is what I like, various, you know, toppings and whatnot.
Well, you know what I think of? I think of the pizza when you have the arugula and the prosciutto and what kind of cheese is it that goes with that?
Feta cheese.
But I was thinking blue cheese. But anyway,
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of a take on that because you have pears, and
Yeah.
which is we have pears in the recipe, but we have ham versus prosciutto. So if you wanted to take it up a notch, you could put in the prosciutto, and we actually got
pears
garlic
instead.
bread.
Yeah, right, garlic bread and pears instead of the pineapple.
Yeah,
So
true.
once again, I'm starting with a hot pan. Where'd the oil go?
And the oil is right here.
I'm going to put just a little bit of oil, not a whole lot.
We're just trying to keep you on your toes out there. We want to keep you guessing what our next step is.
So Once again, when I put oil or butter in, if it's butter, you wait till it starts to bubble and then you put in whatever you want to saute or what you want to fry. If it's oil, I always say to get it hot over a medium-high heat and look until it starts to ripple. So you can't tell if it's hot. When am I going to touch it? But you can see that the oil actually starts to ripple. It's a very visual thing, and that's why I put it in my recipes.
I know, but I had to say it's a heart. He'd missed the heart.
So today I have, my recipe calls for a bolillo, which is, the Mexican elongated roll, just because they're so commonplace down here in almost every grocery store in Texas.
And they're 25 cents.
Yeah, 4 for $1 kind of thing. And again, you want to make sure that you're being, mindful of your monies. In the Bible it says, what you do with little, you will be awarded much. And so anyway, I couldn't find bolillos, believe it or not. This is the first time in 35 years in Texas I couldn't find a bolillo in the grocery store, so I got garlic bread. This has got garlic bread, which is great because pizza is Italian, garlic, etc. So the oil's ready to roll. I'm going to put it in here. I want to get the both sides toasted a bit. Now the first thing, and I should have showed you, I flatten it a bit. Now, in Chicago, they're famous for their, that's okay, I got it, okay. For their thick crust pizza. And so I want to kind of have it in the middle of thin crust pizza, like New York pizza, and Chicago pizza, which is thick crust. So I'm going to let it sit there just for a minute. I just want to toast it. I don't want it to go any further than toasting.
This is really good. I mean, it's like so simple, but
yeah.
Like you said, instead of the pineapple, we did pears because we wanted to give you a different fruit.
And again, I always say that, I may use a certain seasoning, I may use a certain meat or cheese or whatever. It doesn't have to be exactly that. If you go into your fridge and you have some leftover mozzarella or Parmesan cheese or American cheese or whatever, just, it's a pizza. Pizza usually has some kind of meat, some kind of vegetable, and some kind of sauce or some kind of cheese. In this case, I'm not going to have cheese. So let's see.
Well, you do have cheese on the end, correct?
Yes. Okay, there's the one. I'm going to put in the second one. Press it down just a bit while it's cooking.
That's like a panini.
Yeah, it is.
It actually is a panini. What makes it a panini? I mean, it's the same
panini
size.
It's a pressed it's a pressed sandwich where you put it on the top and the bottom. You shut it. It's kind of like it's a sandwich version of a waffle iron. How about that as
and look, you don't have to buy an expensive machine. You just push it down with your spatula.
See, and that's a perfect toast. That's all I want it to be. It's just a perfect brown. It's melted the butter that's already on the bread. I'll toast the other side just a little bit.
Audiences, we have an audience. Can y'all smell that?
It smells amazing.
Oh.
Okay, I'm going to turn.
Lovely.
I'm going to turn that off.
I hope y'all like our red and white check. It's kind of like picnic. When I think of like you're on a picnic, when we had the hurricane came in and the lights were out and we were sitting in the dark and we put a tablecloth, a picnic tablecloth on the ottoman, and we didn't freak out. We just made it a picnic.
We went into, and that's a really great thing. When a disaster happens, 3 or 4 years ago, we had that big freeze in Texas. The grocery stores weren't open and so on. Everybody's saying, "Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?" I guarantee just about anybody, I don't care where you live, I don't know what your social economic status is, almost everybody has some things in their pantry and some things in their fridge. And if you're a little bit frugal about it, you can, you have something to eat for sure. And so, yeah, we did for 3 days. Kim took one of our red and white checked tablecloths, put it on the ottoman, and we had some olives and we had some cheese and whatever. And you know what? We got by.
Yes.
We got by. And you know why? Because the card that I have in my pocket says Philippians 4:19, our God provides all of our needs through the glory and riches in Christ Jesus. And yes, he does provide. So back to the pizza. Just like any old pizza. And isn't it so many times, even my years as a chef, I'll put the toppings on first and then ready to put the cheese on and say, no, that's not the way you make pizza. You put the cheese on first and then you put the toppings on. So I've got a mix of mozzarella and Parmesan. I've got some onion and some jalapeno. You don't have to use the jalapeno.
I'm doing it like the, like the show.
Thank you. I've got the ham.
It's a fun cooking show. Just gets so.
And I've got the pears.
It gets so quiet when he's putting the ingredients on. I'm trying to,
Well, because it's easy to have them fall off. Man overboard. Pear overboard.
Man, I think what makes this look so good is you put a lot of ingredients on there.
Well, I don't know about you, but when you order a pepperoni pizza and you gotta, look for, I'm gonna save that one piece of pepperoni till the last bite, you're not a happy camper. And last but not least, I'm gonna put a little Parmesan cheese over the top.
Yummy.
And so that's what it looks like before you put it in the oven.
And voila.
And here's the finished product. So that is ham and pear bread pizza. You can use English muffins, you could use a hamburger or a hot dog bun, it doesn't matter. It has to have some type of bread. You could use a tortilla, make a really flatbread pizza. Flatbread pizza has become one of the most popular appetizers and entrees in restaurants now. So I hope you enjoy that, but we tasted it the other night, and it is really, really tasty.
All right, we're on to life point number 2. So life point number 2 is the second greatest commandment.
And love your neighbor as yourself. And I don't know about you, because neighbor doesn't mean the people that live next door or across the street. The neighbor is anybody other than yourself. And, we all battle, I'm sure, with, people that may have done us an injustice, whatever it might be. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be, somebody you work with, your boss, whatever it is. And, but the fact is that the Bible also says that unless you forgive others, God will not forgive you.
So here's how we're going to love you today. So we're loving you as our neighbor. So
she did this at 11:30 at night, by the way.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is what high sugar intake leads to. It leads to diabetes, nerve damage, eye disease, and kidney damage. So we're loving you today to tell you for your sugar intake, 8 teaspoons a day. That's all you get, folks. So make sure that you're reading the back of those nutritional packets and see what it says, how much sugar something's contained in a serving.
Because something like a can, I'm not going to say name brands, but a soda, check out the soda. They have to have the nutritional values, and it'll say an amount of sugar, amount of sodium, etc. And I would bet, I'm not a soda drinker. Every once in a while I have one, but rarely. And I bet you in one can of soda, I bet you it has that or more. But anyway,
we'll get to that in a second. That's the third life point.
I'm just ahead of the game today.
You are.
Man, if I was like that in school, I might have gotten a couple of decent grades.
So our next one is the sodium intake. So you get a half a teaspoon.
This is nutso.
Half a teaspoon a day. That's 1,500 milligrams. And so high sodium, it increases your blood pressure, and you're at risk for a heart disease and stroke. Now, don't get all upset out there.
Now again, look at this. I'm going to take, that's the amount of salt that they recommend, the FDA and the WHO, the World Health Organization, and so on. Now,
let's just look at this. For this can, no sodium, and 10 grams of sugar. So that's pretty good.
I'm surprised.
Me too.
Because, you know, the syrup that are in these cans, I like to drink it because it's like, you know, fruit juice. I know it's more sugary than really natural fruit juice, but I'm surprised. I'm surprised that it didn't have more than that.
And this is pears. Well, we have peaches there, so let's see that. And on your pears, you have zero sodium, and on sugar, 11 grams.
Wow.
And what about the peaches? Because I bet you they have a lot of sugar in the back.
Peaches.
No sodium again, 22 grams of sugar.
But this is twice the size.
5 grams per teaspoon.
So it's 5 grams per teaspoon. So you want to make sure that you're checking out those numbers because that's very important. So again, we've got a half teaspoon of your salt intake and 8 teaspoons of sugar a day. And it's kind of scary when you start breaking it down. I was kind of thinking last night, oh, I got to watch what I'm eating. So be aware out there. Recipe number 3, deliciousness, again, chicken and peaches.
All righty, chicken and peaches. So, you know, it's not uncommon to have meat and fruit. It really isn't. But again, with what they're giving out at the First Baptist Church of Elkhart Food Pantry, I thought, well, let me try to incorporate as many of those items as possible. So I'm going to take this chicken breast. And may I have a, thank you, that's what I want.
Here, let me give you another one because this is your working out one. He works out up here, so we want to make sure.
Yes, I do. The first thing I'm going to do is well, I got the pan going so that I'm ready to put it in. Remember something, if you're going to cook something, fry, saute, whatever it is, you have to have the fat, whether it's oil or butter, margarine, etc. It has to be hot enough so that, and you can always check by like putting a piece of onion in there or something that you're going to cook and see if it starts to sizzle. And when it does, then you know that it's going to cook rather than absorb that oil or absorb that butter. Because when you do that, really, believe it or not, you can taste it, and it just doesn't fry or saute properly. So I'm going to take the back of this spoon. Believe it or not, I'm coating it with mustard. Now, it
It makes sense. Dijon mustard a lot of times goes with chicken, so it makes a lot of sense.
So I'm going to just lightly coat the top.
Now, could you substitute just regular mustard for that?
You can. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that, you know, whether it's Dijon mustard, whether it's what they call brown mustard or deli mustard, yellow mustard, the mustard's going to give it that tart flavor. And then you'll see, you know, of course, we're going to have peaches in here, so you want the flavors to complement each other and offset each other. So.
And also, you've got your ketchup. That your little packets of mustard at home, you could actually use those.
Sure.
We forget about these little packets. They could be lifesavers.
And once again, I question whether there's a home out there that doesn't have a little packet of soy sauce, a little packet of, you know, salsa, picante sauce, or whatever, and you can be creative with those. In fact, we know that we're going to do a class one of these months on what can you do with the condiments that are just sitting around in your pantry or in your fridge. So you can see that I just lightly basted that with the mustard. Now, if you have a pastry brush, you can use the pastry brush. You can use, you know, you can use a rubber spatula. But, you know, I just got a regular little plastic spoon here, and you don't want it to be coated a whole lot. Next, I'm going to take Cajun seasoning. I make my own Cajun seasoning. It's a blackened seasoning, but, you know, you can go out and get some in the store. My recommendation, if you're going to get one, then either get Paul Prudhomme's black and redfish seasoning or Emerald's Essence, and then because they have much less salt content. So that's my suggestion. And you want to show them that?
Oh, I was looking at the sodium content. 105 milligrams for a quarter teaspoon. So, you know, got to be careful on all of these. This has less sodium than really any of them out there.
And you see that again. When I use Cajun seasoning, I like it to be pretty prominent. So I'm just carefully and evenly coating the top of the chicken breast.
Oh, it looks good.
Doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So now I'm going to put, my pan is already hot. I'm going to put the oil in there. So I'm sure it's not going to take very much to get it ready. Since onion is one of the ingredients, I'm going to throw a piece of onion in there and see if it does the happy dance. And if you guys have been watching every month when we do this, you know that I call this the happy dance. And it is doing the happy dance. It's bubbling and it's moving around like that. That is the fry pan happy dance. So knowing that it's ready to go, I'm going to scoop that guy back out. I'm going to take the chicken breast carefully and put it seasoned side down. And you can hear that sizzle.
And again, I'll go back to, I know you don't want to hear this today because it always kind of brings a damper on, oh, I have to watch what I eat. But sometimes they substitute sodium for sugar. So you've got to be very careful when you're reading those packages.
Next, I'm going to baste the top side. I'm going to do the same thing on the top side as I did the bottom side. This is not going to be the final cooking in this pan. This is just giving it some coating. And do the same thing with the Cajun seasoning. The Cajun seasoning is popular today, huh? If you don't have Cajun seasoning, you could put some garlic powder, maybe a little cayenne pepper. Again, just be creative with what you have.
And you know, I was just thinking, when you say sodium, that's salt. Some people may not know sodium is salt. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing, basically.
Now look at that.
Woo!
Look at that coating.
Look at that fire.
Do the same thing on the other side. Again, I kind of shake it around to make sure it doesn't stick.
It almost put a crust on there.
Yeah, it did.
It
put a bona fide crust. So this type of crusting happens to be the most popular crusting for lamb. Just a quick aside. But you can crust pork with it. You can crust chicken with it. You can crust, basically any. One of the things I like to do is when I cook fish, like a hearty piece of fish, I'll put a light basting of that on there and some peppers and onions. So this is ready to go. About 3 minutes per side.
Well, the great thing about that is, for me, I'm not eating gluten, and so that's great because you can't eat, you can't use that flour, Ooh, smells amazing. It smells really good.
So the next thing I'm going to do is, oops.
He's cooking the pineapple.
In the pan, I'm going to add a little bit more oil.
Oil is your friend.
Oil is my friend today because I'm going to add onions and I'm going to saute or fry the peaches just a little bit.
And don't forget, this is all about savory fruit. So we're thinking about ways to take something sweet and make it savory.
Good point.
And, we've had the mustard, which is your savory. You have your onions. Mm-hmm. And it's something you don't even think about. You can use it as a savory. Fruit could be savory.
For onions, if you have green onions, you can use green onions. If you have peppers, you can add peppers. Really, again, just be creative. This is just a recipe that I came up with, and I know the blend of spicy and sweet and tart really, really work well together. I only want to cook these onions until they start to slightly brown or caramelize. So you can see that the color, they're perfectly ready to go.
They look great.
So once I add those, I'm going to add these peaches, which I diced up. The fruit, the liquid from the peaches is going to cook in, man, it smells good. It's going to cook in with the onions.
Well, and also you drain these peaches. right?
Yes, yes. I'm going to add chicken stock, which is going to create a sauce.
That looks great.
Now, here's a little surprise. I'm going to add some brown sugar. Not much, just a little brown sugar. So think about all these different flavors. Mustard is tart. It's you know, and it's savory, and then the peaches are sweet, and you know, and the Cajun seasoning is also spicy. So these are all cooking together. I mean, look at the sauce that it's starting to make. I mean, it's really looking good. But sauce, you want to make sure has a little bit of thickness to it. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some cornstarch, mix it in with some cold water. And a lot of people don't know it, and I didn't know this for a good while, but when you mix cornstarch with water and you add it to a liquid, and it has to be slightly boiling, it's going to thicken it.
Now, you saw how much cornstarch you put in there.
Yes, not a lot. I just want to thicken it a bit, and I'm going to add a little bit at a time until I see that it's a relatively thick, but not too thick, of a sauce.
That is just looking amazing.
I mean, isn't that nice? And so I'm going to show you, you can see that it's no longer just liquidy, if there's such a word. You can see that there's some viscosity or thickness to that sauce. And then what I do is put the chicken breast back in with the liquid. Now, if you can finish cooking it in a pan if you turn it down low, because you have to have chicken to come to 165 degrees, so that you know there's killing any bacteria or what have you. So the best way to do this, honestly, is once you get it back in with the sauce, put it in a 350-degree oven for about 10 to 15 minutes, and you should have a thermometer and it be calibrated, which means that you put it in ice water and it should be at 32 degrees. I know there's a lot of technical stuff, but you know, temperature is very important when it comes to cooking food so that you don't get sick. And so that's what it looks like in the pan. You can see that sauce is thickened up beautifully. I mean, really, really nice. And I wanted to make it look nice. So I added a couple of slices of peach, which I also put in the same pan, so it also has that Cajun seasoning to it. And there you have Cajun chicken and peaches. Is she not a great sous chef? You know?
We're on to our life point number 3, and we have audience participation. So I'm asking our director, so you can see how old our director is. This is amazing. She's been great at helping us make this. Here, come in the middle. I'm going to tell you what the director would tell me. So this is the question I have for you. And it's not to put you on the spot. It's just to see what you think. So we talked about the sugar and the sodium, right? So 8 teaspoons of sugar for what you can have a day. So how much sugar is in this? Can you guess? Don't read the back yet, because you're going to tell us.
It's supposed to be hydrating, so you would think not very much, because it's mostly supposed to be water with like maybe some juices in it to hydrate a player.
So read how much sugar?
35 grams.
So, yes, isn't that shocking?
And this is made to hydrate players?
Yes, isn't that shocking? So that's the first one. How much sodium is in that?
255 milligrams.
Wow. Because it makes you want more, right?
Well, and I will say, in fairness to these not energy drinks, that's another world, but these sports drinks, is when you're running and gunning, you sweat, which you're sweating the sodium out of your body. And so the reason why they have that much in those is because you need to put it back in so that you can continue. I'll just give them
okay,
that.
so if you're
but
working
the sugar,
out.
But the sugar is in there because they needed to make it taste good. Because if you,
let's also say, if you are working out, great. If you're on your couch sitting and watching the cooking show
right.
and you're not like getting out and being active, that's not good. So for me, it's not a matter of whether you can eat this or not, or drink this or not. I think that it's about weighing. That's what I want you to
balance.
learn. It's
It's
balancing.
balance.
It's not about this company's bad. They're making a product. It's not they're making a product that's bad. They're making a product that is going to help you.
You want to put back into your body what your body is expelling when you're really working out and exerting yourself.
But if you don't excel what's in there and you just down these, like I know people.
Because you like a Gatorade or a Powerade or whatever, then then you're just adding more of which you haven't even left out of your body, which means that you're on overload with sodium and sugar.
Exactly.
So just a quick aside, so Gatorade was invented by the team medic or whoever it was for the Florida Gators, the University of Florida. And the first thing that the guys said when he said, here, take this because it'll give you back that, what you need is, man, this tastes horrible. And so they worked from something that was good for the body, but it tasted bad, and so they kept on working it. And it'd be a good thing for you to check out the history of Gatorade and why these sports drinks are important. But then again, you have to make sure that you're exerting yourself in order to make it a positive for your body.
Right, talking about balance. So, okay, now we got soup. I'm not going to show the cover because I didn't even think about that, but we got soup. So we're going to cover the front because it doesn't matter about, it doesn't matter
It's
the
not
brand.
about brands. It's about across the board. This is what they're making and putting on the shelves.
Right. So we're looking at sodium. How much sodium do you think in this? And this is just a common person that's watching, that's thinking, how much would they say?
Well,
So,
I want a good, hearty, chunky soup. I want something that's a meal as much as it is a soup. I mean, that's what consumers do.
right. So what do you think?
2 grams.
2 grams. Okay. So cover the front so we don't insult the company because it's not about that. And we're looking at this side because that's container, unless you're going to eat half this container. That's the other thing. You want to look at serving size. This is 2 servings. So that's 2 meals.
How much sodium?
1,850 milligrams.
What percentage of the whole recipe is it?
80%.
80%.
All right, so you got your
And that's for one serving. If you eat the whole can, which most people would just put it in a big bowl and eat it. Yeah.
So that's your day, and that's for that. Yes, it's pretty shocking, isn't it?
Yes.
You don't even think about it because now, do you not eat the soup? No, we're gonna eat what's in our pantry. But you may eat that, and then what could you have for like another
And what's
meal?
in the food assistance
Right.
boxes and so on.
So
Yeah.
what else could you have? If you had that, what else could you have that maybe substitute? Maybe you could have the pineapple,
Yeah. Put some garlic bread with it.
But it's a matter of, maybe have half the can. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that's going to have half a can personally. And if you had 4 people shared 1 can, you're only going to get that much. But the point is that maybe that's 1 meal, and then maybe the next meal's a salad with, whatever dressing on the side or whatever.
Or you have half the can and a little bit of, salad with it.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you for helping us with that. But
Thank y'all for
I
having me.
I like the shock in your face because that was
So
really
I'll
important.
shock you. A regular bag of chips. It doesn't matter whether it's Doritos or potato chips or whatever. A regular bag of chips. How many servings do you think they say in the nutritional label? How many servings are in one regular? I'm not talking about the big bag, the family bag, the regular bag that you open it up and you eat.
Audience?
How many servings do you think is in that regular old bag of, Lay's potato chips or Doritos? And again, it's not about the brands.
There's 4 people, so 4 answers because they can't see you.
20. 20 servings.
In that regular size bag.
Like the ounce bag that you
Yeah.
get from the store, like the.
You go to the grocery store because you want chips and a drink because you're on a road trip, okay? So you buy what's your favorite chip?
Probably just regular Doritos.
Okay, regular Doritos. So how many servings is in the bag of Doritos that you pick up because you're on a school field trip? How many servings do you buy it for?
Well, I eat it in one setting.
One serving, right? How many do you think is in that bag? That the FDA says that's how many servings are in that individual bag.
Like 2 or 3?
Anybody else? Audience?
15?
Huh?
15?
Like this bag?
With the amount of sodium and sugar? Yes.
It probably should be. There's four, they say there's 4 servings. 4 servings in a regular bag. So when we were doing Think Out of the Can, healthy alternative cooking and life mentoring, we'd get together and we'd ask, back then they were kids, say, how many servings are in here? Oh, there's 1, Chef Tim, 1, Miss Kim. I said, believe it or not, there's 4 servings. And I said, what's the one thing that you get out of it if you had to split this 4 ways? I don't know, what would you get? I said, a fight. 4 servings in an individual bag of chips because the FDA says you can have this much sodium and so on. Anyway, that's a very long, but it's important that we also give you some, healthy tips on what you can do to, to cut your sodium and sugar down.
And I'm going to say it again. We are not putting down on companies.
No, not at all.
That's not what this, it's not putting down the FDA. It's not putting down on companies.
Nope.
Actually, these things are put in place to help you. We're trying to inform you so that you'll be aware of what you're eating. And it makes me aware. I mean, I'm going to put this in my kitchen so I can remember, watch how much sodium I eat.
Okay, last but not least, kind of around the world thing here. I would tend to say that the chicken and peach dish is a little bit French because it's got some mustard, Dijon mustard, whatever. The pineapples, they're Louisiana Cajun. And of course the pizza is kind of Italian, so we're gonna go Asian. We're gonna go Asian. And when Kim said, "What can you do with Asian?" I'm like, I don't know. She's the better Asian cook than I am at home. She does a lot of Asian cooking at home, and it's delicious.
Now, some of the ingredients in here may be more expensive, but if you're always eating food assistance food, you may have one time that you may want to go spend some money on shrimp. Use what you're getting from the food pantry.
Yeah.
And to the best of your ability, and then you can substitute with other things. It's all about money, is financing, and make sure that you are not overspending. Use that as a leveraging point to help you get to your next step. That's what this is about.
Be grateful for what you're receiving.
Yes.
And like I said, Jesus said that what you do with little, you will be given much. So anyway, and we're going to be back. We're just going to take a little break, and we'll see you in just a few.
I'm not being Haley.
No.
We were going to be back.
No, it's okay.
I need water anyways.
I'm going after.
Well,
There's 2 restrooms. There's
hold
some
on.
further
Pastor
down.
Jason is probably still. Are you still filming this?
Oh, yeah.
He's having a blast. I see him.
Oh. Well, bloopers.
Isn't it great to know I'm gonna go out this way.
They're still filming on Facebook, by the way. Yes, this is what you get when you've got some technical difficulty.
So, you're what?
We're on Facebook
about the bag-
We're on
about the bag of
Facebook
chips?
Live right now.
Again, every single food item in the grocery store on the shelves is going to have how many servings?
Well, let's also since they had to step out, let's talk about if I can find it. Well, I can't find it right now. So on the back of the package, you've got the nutritional. So your nutritional would have. Do y'all want to? Somebody come up for a second, and let's talk about the nutritional. So the nutritional value of this. So come in the middle. So read us the serving size. So how much is in a serving size?
1/4 teaspoon.
So
What's that?
1/4 of a teaspoon.
So 1/4 of a teaspoon. So this is all based on 1/4. So how many calories in that?
It says 0.
And so to give you an idea, when I seasoned the chicken, I probably used 2/3 of a teaspoon on each side. So, you know, basically, let's just say there was 2 teaspoons on there, and on the 4 pineapple rings, I'm sure that I used more than a teaspoon.
And so if you go down, you've got, so read some other things that it has in here. You just hold it.
Like the sodium?
Yeah, sodium.
It says 0.
So zeros.
No sodium.
So, and it's a good point. My favorite seasoning that I buy from the grocery store is this salt-free garlic and herb seasoning. So I can choose to add the amount of seasoning. I want flavor. And then I can add the salt so that at least, you know, because, you know, again, biblically, you know, salt with no taste is useless. You know, I mean, that's what they say.
There's no sugar in it either.
Right?
So
No sugar, no
that's good.
sodium.
There's no fat.
So it looks like pretty good, right?
So my favorite seasoning is good stuff, huh?
Yeah.
It's all flavor. It's 100% flavor.
So you got, so just so you have an idea of what, when you're reading the nutritional value in the back, I mean, there's all the other things you can look at, but for me, sodium and salt are the 2 things that you want to really concentrate on. Thank you.
Okay, so last but not least, are we back live? Last but not least is, now I'm using shrimp. Now you say, wait a minute, you know, it's a food assistance program and everything else. You know, this is not like you can't ever or don't ever have shrimp, okay? I'm using shrimp today, but this can be for shrimp, chicken, or pork, or even beef as the protein. Again, I try to make sure that these can be either eaten as a meal. I mean, you know, the Cajun pineapple, that's a dessert, that's a snack. But the other ones you want to see, you know, to try to have the food groups. You have protein, you have dairy, you have vegetable. And so this one, I decided I'm just going to use a shrimp today. So once again, we're going to have shrimp and pineapple fried rice.
So sugar and sodium are not a food group?
No. But who is it that Elf said that syrup is a food group? So, you know, who knows? Anyway, so what I've done just to expedite things is I put in here, this is going to be my Asian sauce. I put in soy sauce and a really good substitute with very little sodium, because soy sauce has a ton of sodium.
860 milligrams, by the
Is
way.
amino acids. It comes in the same kind of bottle, but you can substitute soy sauce with amino acids, and it's way, way lower on sodium. I don't even know what the count is, but we tried that last night. First, I did this recipe with soy sauce because almost everybody has it, and I tried it again last night with just amino acids, and I mean, the flavor difference was nominal. So what I've done is I put soy sauce, a little sesame oil. If you don't have sesame oil, don't worry about it, but sesame oil has a really, really unique nutty flavor.
So the sesame oil, I know sometimes you can use too much.
Yeah.
How much do you, what is the amount you use?
I can't tell you the amount. I can tell you that it's very nutty and very concentrated in flavor, but it's one of the items that really makes Asian food pop. It really does. So I've added in here soy sauce, some sesame oil, some powdered ginger, and chopped garlic. And the garlic, I always tell you, you can have fresh garlic if you have garlic cloves, or you can use the chopped garlic in the jar. So I want to mix this real well. Just get all those flavors melded and blended together. Now, because there's oil in, before I add it to the final product, I'm going to mix it again because the oil will separate in the meantime. So on to the ingredients that we're going to cook.
And all these ingredients you're putting in, onion, bell pepper, red bell pepper, peas, carrots, pineapple.
Shrimp.
Can there be things that are substituted for all of these
Sure.
different things?
You know, I mean, most fried rice and most Asian food items, they'll have celery in it, onion of some sort with yellow, red, white, or green onion. In this case, I have both types of onion. I have white and I have green. So again, there's, you know, I used to always say that Outback Steakhouse, and this is not a commercial for them, I always said that they had the best slogan of all restaurants. No rules, just right. And that's really what I say about think out of the can. I'm doing it this way. I have this seasoning. See, if you don't have that, go in your cupboard, go in your pantry, go in your fridge, and see what you can substitute. It actually helps make you a better cook because you're less nervous about it, less anxious about what you're putting in there, or you just don't eat, or you just, you know, put something from a can into the pan and it's boring. So the whole point of this is being creative with what you got.
And the smell of that sesame oil, I can smell it.
Yeah, yeah. So I put a mix of regular oil and sesame oil in here. The first thing I'm going to do is I've got chopped or diced onion and red and green bell pepper, only because, you know, I have the two different colors.
And the best part about a lot of times when you have onion and bell pepper, sometimes, or the best part about using older vegetables, when you cook them, you don't have to have some really firm, you know, bell pepper.
Nope.
You can use things that are like a little bit ready to go.
In fact, that's a good point because I bought a red bell pepper and a green bell pepper, and I said, hold on a second. I have these little baby bell peppers. You see them in the grocery stores now. They're not spicy, and we use them for decoration on plates a lot. But anyway, so I went ahead, so I didn't even cut into the two peppers that I bought. I used the ones that were a little bit older that I had, and that's what's in here. So I just want to cook these until the onions are translucent. I don't want them to get soft. I still want them to have some crunch or some bite when you actually eat the fried rice. So those onions are translucent. I'm going to add peas and carrots. Now peas and carrots, because almost every time that you have fried rice, they have peas and carrots. Whether it's canned or whether it's frozen, really doesn't matter. I want to cook those for a little bit. Now
And not
remembering,
too long because they are already, they're not.
they're already
them,
soft. So remember that the seasoning, the flavor agents are all in the sauce. Once again, it's soy sauce or amino acids, sesame oil, chopped garlic, and powdered ginger. And powdered ginger is a really important seasoning for Asian cooking. So this is ready to roll. I'm going to add pineapple. Doesn't have to be cooked. I'm just incorporating it in here because, again, all the flavors are cooking together. You think about the sweetness in that pineapple and how it's going to season and flavor the onions, bell pepper, peas, and carrots. Oh, I left a little bit in there. I'm going to add the shrimp. Now, I cut the shrimp up. I cut it in half. You can cut it into smaller pieces. You can leave it whole or whatever. When I eat something, I like to have in one forkful or one spoonful, I like to have everything that's in the recipe. So I'm going to cook this until the shrimp is pink. I'm going to let that set for just a minute.
And remember, shrimp doesn't take a long time to cook.
No, no, it doesn't. And in fact, I'm just going to flip it over. Come on now.
Remember, we've been talking about salt and sodium and sugar, and the companies are not responsible for what you put in your own body.
Nope,
So
that's
it
a
has
really
nothing
good
to
point.
do with what companies make and if the food is bad. You have to be responsible. Read the packaging. That's what your responsibility is.
So you can see the shrimp is pink, and by the time I add anything else in, the bottom side's going to be pink. and it will be fully cooked. Again, I'm going to add some liquid, and it will completely cook at that point. So this is all mixing it all together.
Ooh, looks good.
I'm going to put off to the side these ingredients, and I'm going to add egg, and I'm going to slowly mix the eggs so they scramble.
This is your fried rice part. You
Yep.
know when the eggs are cooked? I
Yep.
used to try to figure it out, and I could ask Tim directly and say, help me with this part. So
Yeah, and you can either put it in a second pan, or like I said, I put everything off to the side so that they're actually scrambling. If you don't do that and you try to mix it in with all the other ingredients, it's just going to be egg mush. Great technical term, great culinary term I learned when I did it the wrong way and found out that's what happens. So you can see that it turned into nice scrambled eggs. I'm going to finish cooking it, and it was a chef up in Philadelphia that showed me this one time. After it's cooked, he took a knife, in this case I'm just going to take a spatula, and cut it up.
you don't want to cook your eggs to death. I mean, you don't have to cook chicken to death. You don't have to cook. I used to cook everything where it was like too much.
And look how this egg incorporates. If you try, like I said, if you try to scramble it by just pouring it into the ingredients, it's just going to be this kind of soupy, soggy, eggy type of thing, as opposed to, you know, when you get fried rice and you get that nice egg right in the middle of it.
And you see the flame is pretty high. And when you're cooking this at home, you want to make sure that you have that flame up. You don't want to, but you're also standing right there with your food, so it won't take as long as you think it is.
Okay, next I'm going to add, and remember I'm going to mix it all in, reincorporate it, and pour it in there. And I'll tell you what, Emeril Lagasse is the one who, I don't know if he coined the phrase or not, but he said, man, I wish you all had smell-o-vision so you could smell how delicious this is smelling.
Beautiful.
Smell-o-vision, Emeril.
Looks great, smells
Yeah.
great.
It really does. So this, I haven't put the rice in yet. It can't be fried rice without rice. But look how good that's looking. Look how good that's looking.
And the
Mix it
rice
up.
we cooked ahead of time.
Yes, the rice is cooked ahead of time. Good point.
And it's fully cooked. I mean, you don't leave it a little mushy. You don't leave it, not mushy. You don't leave it a little hard thinking that you're going to have to
No.
cook it in the sauce.
No,
You
it's
just,
not.
Just incorporate it.
It is not going to cook in here, that's for sure. And
Wow, it looks
who
great.
taught you all this stuff?
I know. I've been learning under the right hand. Look, all I wanted was a personal chef when I met you. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, well.
But I got it all.
And just let this cook down a little bit. I mean, it's ready to eat right now. I mean, it's looking really, really good. And the last but not least thing, I'm going to turn it off because it's all fully cooked. And I'm going to add green onion and sesame seeds.
Yummy.
And the sesame seeds gives it a little bit of texture. Just mix it all in there. And Pastor Jason, whoever asks and wants to take this home, they're going to have to fight with me because I want to take this home and have it for lunch. Now remember, the beauty of it is, other than the shrimp or chicken or pork or whatever you put in there, all of these items came from the food assistance box from the First Baptist Church Elkhart, which every first Thursday of the month, they have this beautiful, beautiful ministry. And man, you have more volunteers out here today than I have seen in quite some time. All the volunteer times, you know, you talk about love your neighbor as yourself. There's a lot of loving of the neighbors, and they don't know the people that are coming up in their cars, but it doesn't matter. It's love your neighbors. So this is what it looks like when it's fully cooked in the pan.
And we have somebody who wants to come up and try.
All righty then. And again, for camera purposes, and if I was catering and I was serving fried rice, this is how I would serve it, with a little garnish of a couple extra shrimp or pieces of chicken or pork or
hot.
beef.
I'm directing my producers to get in the middle of the shot.
Oh, it's really hot.
Yes. Let's do our life point while it cools down. So our today's verse is, because it's February 6th, 1 Peter 2:6. For in Scripture it says, "See, I lay a stone in Zion, a chosen and precious cornerstone, and the one who trusts in him will never be put to shame." So love God and trust God, because he is our cornerstone. He's the thing that we can stand on and know he's got all this under control.
You know, it's interesting. Well, first of all, how is it?
It is amazing. There are so many flavors that they don't clash at all. I mean, they clash, but not negatively.
Yeah.
You know? They all come
complement each other, don't they?
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, would you think that would be canned goods or food pantry food?
No, I would not.
And remember, you don't even have to have protein in this. You can just make the fried rice with the ingredients that are in the food assistance box. I like to add protein once again so that you have all of the food groups that make it a full meal if this was the only thing you were going to eat.
So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being with us. Sorry about the technical difficulties we had.
And remember, go out there and think out of the can.
Think out of the can. And we say think out of the box. No, think out of the can. Till next time.